have you noticed any effects of climate change?
Good question. You have to believe it first.
Do you believe in climate change?
I think we are affecting the environment. I know as a farmer that it used to be that we had no problems with lack of sulfur in the soil because sulfur was naturally in the air, and the power plants putting sulfur out and stuff. But now they've cleaned that up to the point now where we have to spend money just to put sulfur on as fertilizer.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I don't necessarily want to spend the money, but but if it makes things better, you have to do that. So.
Okay. You haven't noticed anything else? There's not a change in the period of the growing season, or?
As we change the crops we grow, the genetics in those crops we try to plant earlier so that we don't have to the crop isn't as vulnerable during the hottest part of the summer. About the only thing that we could say maybe that's different is the fact that sometimes it seems like some of the storms seem to be bigger and maybe more rain out of a single storm than what it seemed like it was back 50 years ago.
Okay.
So if that's climate change as defined by climate change or just normal change in the weather. So.
Right, sort of a normal cycle. A lot of people think that farmers wear bib overalls and carry pitchforks. Do you wear bib overalls and carry a pitchfork?
Well, when we still had cows, I used pitchforks a lot.
To do what?
To clean up the barn or do whatever you can do with a pitchfork.
Okay. How you're farming or about your family and farming?
The biggest thing we'd like would be the idea that don't be afraid to ask a farmer, because we like to talk about farming.
No, really?
Because there's too many people out here that have political agendas that try to affect how we do things that probably really have never been out on a farm to know the reasons why we do the things the way we do.
Have you noticed any changes in the crops due to global warming, climate change?
If it's climate change, it's the potentially more extreme weather patterns where it seems like when it rains, it might be more intense storms than what it used to be, or once it turns dry, that it stays dry and is maybe potentially hotter and drier than it used to be.
This year's been pretty droughty.
Yes.
Has that been typical lately?
It seems to. In the last few years, we've had more extreme in the dryness during the summer.
Oh, have you noticed any impacts of climate change?
To say it's climate change, I hate to put it to that, but some years, the past several years have been warmer. The winters have been more mild, but I'm not convinced of climate change because the Earth goes through cycles, and we may just be on a cycle of warmer, drier weather, and
the farm where you farmed before on 201, how was it doing financially?
we were surviving.
So you were making ends meet, but not too much more than that?
Yeah.
Okay. And at this farm, how were you doing economically?
Much better because higher yields, and for several years we've had much better grain prices.
So you attribute the difference to better yields and higher grain prices?
Yes.
Does equipment, technology have any impact on that? Are you using the same kind of technology that...
For the most part, but it's somewhat improved, so equipment is helping it. I think some newer equipment could help it even further.
How would new equipment help?
Better seed placement in the ground, so you get better stands, so you should get better yields.
What do you think the future of this farm looks like?
Looks pretty good. The next generation seems to want to take over the farm and keep it going, so I think there's a future in it.
Okay. In general, is U.S. farming more profitable now than it was 50 years ago? Or 30 years ago?
In general, probably. It's one of those things that in farming you take a price that's offered to you instead of setting a price for your product, and there's years that the price you have to take is not very good, and so income is not good, whereas other years the price goes up because of potential lack of production in certain areas. That, you know, farming can be nicely profitable.
Does that depend somewhat on how many acres you have to farm?
Yeah, the more acres you farming corn and soybeans, the more you farm, the more you spread your costs out, the more profitable you can be. Now, if you're growing specialty crops, you can make a good living on a smaller acreage.
What would be a specialty crop?
Sweet corn, strawberries,
so
pumpkins.
Sort of like Fulton's do.
Yeah.
Okay. You use fertilizers as part of your agricultural activities. You're planting, and you use fertilizers at other periods during the year.
Yes.
How much does the cost of fertilizers impact the profitability of the farm?
It can have a large impact. There's years that fertilizer isn't real expensive, and other years that it is very expensive. And if the years that it's expensive is the year that the commodity prices are low, it can eat most of the profits up. But if you don't use them, you don't have a crop to have a potential profit with.
Do you have any idea what causes that variability in cost?
The producers of the fertilizer. A lot of fertilizers are petroleum based, so if petroleum gets expensive, it can make fertilizer expensive.
So the cost of oil is a huge determining factor in whether or not your farm's profitable.
I don't know if I'd say huge, but it is a significant factor in it.
Something that you consider then when...
Yeah, something you have to keep in mind.
What about the cost of seeds? Do they vary a lot from year to year?
Yes, they do. It's a weather factor where they grow this seed stock. If they have a bad growing season there and seed is in short supply, it can become rather expensive. There's a lot of risk, but it can be managed.
There are a lot of people who think that farmers get a big fat subsidy check every year. What do you do with your big fat subsidy check?
What subsidy?
So you're saying the government does not pay you to be a farmer?
Well, there are subsidies, not like what used to be back in that idea that we're paying us not to grow. More of what's done now is crop insurance is better, and the programs are to subsidize the crop insurance.
Okay, so you're not getting any actual cash out of it. The subsidy is to make it possible for you to buy crop insurance.
Yeah, it makes it easier to,
Could you afford crop insurance if it wasn't subsidized?
It would be rather difficult. Not as many people would be buying it, so then you wouldn't be able to get much back from it. That was the problem years ago when they first started the programs, was that there weren't enough people buying it, and the standards weren't good enough that you practically had to lose your whole crop before you would even get a payment.
So it really wasn't very helpful insurance then.
Yeah, I mean, you would pay your premiums every year, and then when you needed it, it wasn't there.
So are there times when you had to make claims on your crop insurance?
I remember that Dad, Paul used crop insurance, but it was kind of one of those things. They were, if they had a good year the year before, they might pay for some of it, but I don't remember really having much of a claim on it. So,
is the farm more profitable now than it was, say, 30 years ago?
It is, because of the last 4 years.
It's a huge natural disaster as far as crop production. They may bring out a disaster type payment.
So if there's a big drought and everybody's affected, there might be some kind of price support?
Price support, or it's not just a generic payment to the farmer. It's based on your recorded production over the years that you have documented, the price for the crop that's out there, and they figure what you did get off the farm and what produced and what the price is, and they may make a formula to pay you for the loss, a portion of the loss that you had.
So they would pay you the difference between what you would raise in the average year and what you were able to harvest during the bad year?
They don't pay you the difference. It's a percentage. They got a formula they use to figure like a 75% of what your average was before, and then figure a price by what that year started off in the spring and what the price is in the fall, and they come to a price for that crop, so you get paid something for that area in between what you normally would have had and what you actually produced.
There are people who would suggest that farmers give away the yields from their crops to feed hungry people, to feed the world, and that the reason that there are hungry people in the world is because farmers are kind of greedy How do you respond to that?
I think they're very giving. There's in most all areas wherever you live, the farms they have donation charity programs set up to where you can donate bushels, or they can convert that into dollars, and they donate those dollars to a charity or organization. The government itself actually donates a huge amount of grains to other countries.
Do you think that in the future agriculture will be able to catch up with population growth? Because right now we have 7 billion people in the world, and agriculture is keeping up with that. But by 2050 there will probably be 9 billion people in the world. Do you think that global agriculture can keep up with the demand for food?
It will be difficult, but I think it's possible.
What do you think needs to happen for that to happen?
Continually improving the genetics for higher yields for the corn and soybeans and other grains that humans eat.
Is that why you farm, is to feed the rest of the world?
Well, we want to feed the rest of the world, but it's a business and a job. You want to make an income to support yourself and family and whoever else is in the operation.
The farm that you farmed before this one, when that was sold, that land became a housing development.
Yes.
And you used the proceeds of that farm to buy this one.
Yes.
How sure could that happen again to this farm?
The potential's there that to become a housing development, no, this is undevelopable ground.
What makes it undevelopable?
It's in a floodplain.
Okay. So there are some constraints against building housing here?
There's a government agency that will not allow it.
And what's that government agency?
Miami Conservancy District.
What do?
They basically protect the local cities around here by a series of dams, which this farm is behind one of them.
So they're in the flood control business, and
yes.
Your property is part of where they're planning to store water if they need
yes.
to? Okay. Why did you choose that course of study?
Well, I've grown up on a farm my whole life, and it's pretty much what I think I'll probably do. Now,
you're going to school right now?
Yep.
And what are you studying?
Agricultural Equipment Technology.
And where are you studying that?
University of Northwestern Ohio.
What kind of technology do you think there will be on the farm by the time you're taking over the business?
It'll be a lot different. We probably won't even have to get in the cabs anymore. We can just sit on the side of the field and watch the tractors do all the work.
How will the tractors know what to do?
Computers.
Okay. How will they know where they are?
GPS.
Okay, so your equipment really won't need you anymore.
Not really.
Does that make you feel...
program the computer to tell it what to do.
Does that make you feel insecure?
Not really. I just need to learn more about computers.
A lot of people have the image of the American farmer as being a guy with bib overalls and a pitchfork. Do you own bib overalls?
No, I don't.
Do you own a pitchfork?
Yes.
Do you use it?
Not as much as you used to. You used to have livestock, so you use that for hay and straw for that. But now it's more for picking up leaves or garden stuff.
Now, I asked Joe and I asked Tony, a lot of people still have an image of a farmer as being a guy in bib overalls with a pitchfork. Do you own bib overalls and wear them?
No, I don't.
How about a pitchfork?
Yeah, I think I still have one of those in the garage, but
You don't use it on the farm, though?
no.
Okay. Well, thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay. What would you want people to know about agriculture that you think they don't already know?
Probably that too many people don't know that this is where their food comes from. That too many people think you just go to the store and that's where everything comes from, but it's got to come from somewhere else first.
So it doesn't come in nice shiny packages?
Nope.
It has to be grown somewhere?
Well, just spiritually, there's that connection that, it takes great faith to go out and put a seed in the ground and expect to make a living doing that.